It is 10:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's the 12th day of November 2025. This is episode 1209 of Bitcoin, and you're here for all the news you can use about Bitcoin and more going on across the world. We're going to start in China, and then we're going to come back over to the United States with JPMorgan, who's doing JPMorgan things. I thought this particular aspect of JPMorgan was over. Clearly not. And I was actually kind of surprised when I saw it this morning when I was putting the show together. Pig butchering. I have a theory about pig butchering, and the United States government will get into it, I promise. And Coinbase is leaving Delaware. They're uprooting their corporate structure from the Delaware corporate structure into a different state. Can you guess what state that's going to be? I'll leave it to you to decide. Paul Atkins, the SEC chair, is unveiling a plan for token taxonomy. Yes, because humans just have this innate need to name stuff. That was actually in the Bible. That was actually in Genesis. Adam was given the job to name all of the plants and animals in the Garden of Eden. So it's quite natural that Paul Atkins would want to name shitcoins specific things. Who knows? Fuck it. I don't care. Neutron X. We're going to talk about it. Lightning network across Vietnam. Or Vietnam. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. I think it's both. I've heard it done both ways. So just if you're Vietnamese and I've gotten it wrong, do not take offense. I do not mean to deliver offense by saying Vietnam or Vietnam or screw it. Let's go north from Vietnam to China, where Chinese Bitcoin queen, the Ponzi mastermind, has been jailed in the United Kingdom for over 11 years. I guess that particular trial was fairly swift, and, well, she got kicked in the ass. Bitcoin Magazine's Micah Zimmerman going to tell us more. A Chinese woman who orchestrated the multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme that laundered much of the proceeds into cryptocurrencies was jailed in the United Kingdom on Tuesday for 11 years and 8 months, according to Reuters. Jimin Quan, 47, nicknamed the Goddess of Wealth, admitted to 2 charges of acquiring and processing criminal property. Qin ran the Lantian Gerui investment company between the years 2014 and 2017, defrauding around, let's say 128,000 investors in China of roughly 40 billion renminbi, or $5.62 billion US. And prosecutors said about 6 billion renminbi was siphoned off and converted into Bitcoin. That's about $845 million. During the course of a multi-year investigation, British authorities seized over 61,000 Bitcoin worth more than $6 billion today, marking one of the largest cryptocurrency seizures ever recorded in Europe. The court heard that Qian fled China in 2017, traveling through Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Malaysia, before arriving in the United Kingdom on a St. Kitts and Nevis passport. Hold on, pausing. St. Kitts, a St. Kitts passport. I wonder if she wasn't a customer of Plan B. That's, I can't remember her name. Katie the Russian. If you know who I'm talking about when I say Katie the Russian, she had this thing called Plan B, and it was essentially, hey, you probably need another passport if you want to do multiple flagging of countries, is one of the ways that she put it, where you basically plant your flag in 2 different countries. St. Kitts, if I remember correctly, was actually one of the countries that she worked with predominantly to get people St. Kitts passports. And I'm wondering if this woman wasn't a customer of Plan B. And Plan B got absorbed into it's now another company, and Katie the Russian got absorbed with it. I wonder if it's connected. Now, I'm not accusing Katie of doing anything. I love Katie. She is great. I've met her in person. She's actually a wonderful human being. She's very, very sweet, very nice, got a smile that will light up a room from 10 million miles away. But it makes me wonder. She's like, oh God, one of my customers is going to get popped. Oh, this is, you know what? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not accusing Katie of anything. However, Katie can't control who the hell buys her passports and who doesn't buy the passports. I mean, she's offering a service. Sometimes you're going to get somebody you service that you wish you hadn't have serviced. It's possible at least that this woman who's been sentenced to an 11-year, 8-month stint in the UK jail system might have been a customer of Plan B and Katie the Russian. It'll be interesting to find out if that actually occurred. Anyway, continuing on, during the course of a multi-year investigation, British authorities seized over 61,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, we know, worth more than $6 billion. You've already said this. Why are you saying this again? The court heard that that was my fault. That's okay. It's not Bitcoin Magazine's fault. I misplaced where I was. My apologies. That was my bad. Let's try this again. Continuing, she attempted to convert all that Bitcoin into cash, often using accomplices to purchase luxury goods, including jewelry and watches, while staying in high-end hotels across Europe. British authorities first encountered her in 2018 during a property purchase in London, but she evaded capture for 6 years. She was eventually arrested in York, Northern England, in April 2024 following a police investigation into her accomplice Ling Sen Hock, who had been transferring Bitcoin linked to the scheme. Qian's accomplices were also sentenced. Wen Xian, who helped convert the Bitcoin into cash and luxury goods, was jailed last year, while Ling received nearly 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to money laundering. A prosecutor said the case ranks as one of the largest money laundering cases in UK history by value and involves the largest confirmed seizure of criminal assets in all of Europe, not just the UK, all of Europe. At sentencing, Judge Sally Ann Hales described Qian as the architect of the scheme, driven by pure greed. Prosecutors highlighted that some victims lost their life savings, homes, and even marriages. While criminal proceedings are complete, a civil recovery process in London's High Court is ongoing, exploring compensation for more than 1,300 victims who have come forward. Qian's lawyers said that she never intended to defraud anyone, and that Bitcoin's massive appreciation, rising from $3,600 in 2018 to roughly $100,000 today, could allow restitution to actually exceed the original losses. It's called forced hodling, if you're not familiar with that term. Forced hodling. A spokesperson for London police confirmed that British and Chinese authorities are cooperating on cross-border fugitive and asset recovery. So this chick that I told you about a few weeks ago has been sentenced to damn near 12 years in prison. I wonder what UK prisons are like. I mean, are they terrible? Is it like being thrown in a Turkish prison? I don't know. Any of you guys that, that are listening to me in the UK, if you know about your own prison system and if it's, really terrible or not, let me know. Give me a boostagram and give me some Satoshis, and I'd like to know about this more. So JPMorgan, back over here across the pond, where JPMorgan rules, and by the way, JPMorgan rules in a lot of places, not just the United States. They've rolled out JPMCoin. JPMCoin deposit token has been rolled out for instant payments on Base. That's Coinbase's thing, which we'll hear about here in a minute. But yeah, remember JPMCoin? That was one of the very first instances of JPM actually embracing, quote, crypto right after Jamie Dimon had lambasted the entire industry and Bitcoin as well. And then we get JPMCoin, and then we hear about it a few times, and then it just goes away. It just sort of dies on the vine. I haven't heard anybody say a damn thing about JPMCoin for months. At least that is until now, with Adrian Zmunsky reporting from Cointelegraph saying that the world's biggest bank by market capitalization has begun deploying a token representing deposits held at the bank, and it's called JPMCoin. According to a Wednesday Bloomberg report, JPMorgan's institutional clients now have access to JPMCoin. The bank's blockchain division co-lead Naveen Mallela told Bloomberg that the token represents US dollar deposits at the bank and allows customers, or rather allows users, to send and receive money on the blockchain. The blockchain. It's on the blockchain. Where's that blockchain? I don't know. It's like Plato's ideal forms, right? There's this blockchain that exists out in the ether that all other blockchains pull their blockchainness from. I guess that's what they mean when they say on the blockchain. Anyway, they get to send and receive money on the blockchain created by U.S. crypto exchange Coinbase called Base. Oh, the blockchain called Base, a platform that has been endorsed by JPMorgan. Oh, I didn't realize that JPMorgan had previously endorsed Coinbase's Base blockchain. But in mid-June, Mallela announced that a fixed number of JPMD tokens, I guess that means JPM deposit tokens, would be transferred to Coinbase on Base in the following days. The transfer was part of a pilot phase that was followed by allowing Coinbase's institutional clients to access the bank's deposit token. And JPMCoin, it enables instant 24/7 payment processing, which is significantly faster than the typical time seen in the U.S. banking system. The news follows this week's announcement by JPMorgan and Singapore multinational banking group DBS that they are developing a blockchain-based tokenization framework to enable on-chain transfers between their deposit token ecosystems. JPMorgan has not responded to Cointelegraph's inquiry by publication time. JPMCoin is a so-called deposit token. That means it represents a direct claim on a bank deposit and is therefore a regulated liability of the issuing bank. This is the primary distinction between this type of token and what's known as traditional stablecoins, which are issued by a private entity and backed by assets to maintain their value. Much like the broader U.S. financial industry, JPMorgan appears to be doubling down on its commitment to tokenization and blockchain technology. At the end of October, JPMorgan's private bank and asset management divisions initiated the first transaction on the forthcoming Kinexus Fund Flow Fund Tokenization platform. That was not a typo. That's actually what's written there. The company also showed enthusiasm toward the broader crypto ecosystem, not just blockchain-based tokenization, because in late October, JPMorgan was reported to be planning to let clients use Bitcoin and a shitcoin for collateral on loans. In mid-January, JPMorgan suggested that another kind of shitcoin altogether ETF would attract $3 billion to $6 billion, while yet another bullshit shitcoin ETF might garner $4 to $8 billion in new investments. The bank was also recently reported to be developing plans to offer cryptocurrency trading services. Also in October, JPMorgan informed its financial advisors that all clients will be able to invest in cryptocurrency funds. Until then, advisors were restricted to offering such products to high net worth investors with over 1.5 million in assets and an aggressive risk profile. So there you go. JPMCoin is now officially out in the wild. Now, will it do anything at all? I don't honestly know. I guess since it's a coin that is if you're a JPM client, you've got a deposit, you've got access to this coin, whether you asked for it or not, or at least that's how it seems. So they may actually get this coin may actually get some traction. And again, like they said, it's not a stable coin. It is representative of deposits in their bank. So it's a completely different behemoth altogether. We haven't really seen this out in the wild before. We're pretty sure we've got a handle on what stable coins are, kind of, right? We don't really know what they'll become, but this one, we need to keep our eye out on deposit tokens, because this is a completely different kind of entity. And at this point, we have no clue what that ecosystem actually looks like. So just be aware and get hungry at satsforsnacks.com. That's sats, the number 4, snacks.com, satsforsnacks.com, where you can get freeze-dried pineapple in a 5-pack. You can get freeze-dried peaches, freeze-dried mangoes, which is my wife's favorite, by the way. You can also get proof of healing. It's a Comfrey Salve. And if you've got nicks and cuts and scratches on your hands, if you're a gardener, if you get bit by bee or stung by bees and wasps, mild cuts, not anything deep. Like if you've got to get stitches for it, dude, go get stitches for it. Don't use Comfrey. It'll heal the opening, but that will trap bacteria and stuff in the actual wound itself. That deeper wounds, you don't want to use Comfrey for. But surface level stuff like bruises, contusions, scratches, cuts, cat scratches, dude, Comfrey. And he's got Comfrey Salve. I've got a can of it. I love it. I absolutely adore this stuff. He also has freeze-dried bananas. And if you use the code Bitcoin and in the coupon code, you will get, is it 2.4%? No, 2.1% off of your entire purchase if you use Bitcoin and in the coupon code. That's Bitcoin and in the coupon code over at satsforsnacks.com. Dude, the freeze-dried bananas and the freeze-dried peaches are the bomb. Those are my favorite. My wife loves the mango. My kids love the apple slices. It doesn't look like he's got apple slices, freeze-dried apple slices right now. He's got it in a medley, it looks like. Wait a minute, mangoes. No, he doesn't. He does not have freeze-dried apples at the time, but he did. And they were freaking delicious. And my kids gnawed through those things like they were going out of style. If you give the coupon code Bitcoin and, not only will you get 2.1% off, you will let Permanerd, who is the owner of Sats for Snacks, know that I made the sale for him here on the Circle P. It's where I bring plebs with goods and services like you to plebs just like you that want to buy those goods and services, but you're buying it in Bitcoin, because if you're not selling your goods and services in Bitcoin, you're not in the Circle P. You're just not. Go to satsforsnacks.com. Go there right now. Use Bitcoin and in the coupon code. Meanwhile, over at CoinDesk, a new strike force is set to target overseas pig butchering as the United States hits a Burma operation. Jesse Hamilton, in fact, writing for CoinDesk. U.S. government agencies are cranking up the response to overseas scams that seek to trick people into sending them their crypto, with the Department of the Treasury announcing the Scam Center Strike Force. Is it like McGruff? Will it take a bite out of crime? I don't know, but that was said today, Wednesday, even as it flagged its latest effort to target a Burmese operation that pursued Americans with fake investment schemes. So U.S. authorities, also including the Department of Justice, are standing up the strike force to go after this so-called pig butchering, which is often coordinated by massive organized crime operations in places such as Burma, but also in Cambodia, Laos, and the Philippines. The newest case involved Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioning armed groups, companies, and individuals in Burma associated with the Democratic Karen Benevolent Army. Karens. It's an army of Karens. And scam centers said to be backed by Chinese criminal organizations, probably also named Karen. The strike force, led by the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, aims to take apart, they're going to take it apart, the transnational criminal enterprise in Southeast Asia that have stolen tens of billions from Americans, much of it going unreported. Wait, what? Who didn't report? The Americans that had it stolen from? I don't know. Whatever. The practice sees teams of operatives, whole teams, often forced into it via human trafficking, working at a factory scale to trick people into fraudulently investing or sending funds to fake romantic partners. The administration, and this is a quote, will keep using every tool we have to go after these cyber criminals wherever they operate. The long arm of the Department of Justice's law is spread out across the globe yet one more freaking time, and they're going to protect American families from that exploitation, said Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism. Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence. The Treasury for Terrorism. So I can stack treasury or terrorism in a bank account. I got a lot of terrorism, man. There's a whole bunch of financial intelligence and terrorism that I've stacked. Oh, well, whatever. The guy's name is John Hurley. He said all this shit in a statement. The strike force envisions tapping various parts of the federal government with oversight duties related to this area, including DOJ, the Treasury Department, the State Department, as well as domestic law enforcement agencies. Quote, the scale, my God, it's staggering, said Ari Redboard, global head of policy and government affairs for TRM Labs, of the global criminal enterprises involved in pig butchering. Quote, the DOJ Scam Center Strike Force reflects a hard truth. Not one single agency can tackle this alone. In a similar vein, the DOJ has previously established a healthcare strike force and a trade fraud task force. Last month, U.S. authorities went after Prince Group, which was alleged to have run a Cambodian operation, with the DOJ taking what it said was its largest ever seizure of 127,271 Bitcoin. The action was coordinated between DOJ and the Treasury. In Burma, the development of the scam centers was tied by the U.S. authorities to others among the sanctioned entities, including TransAsia International Holding Group, Thailand Company Ltd, Trothstar Company Ltd, and Thai National Chamu Sawang. The sanctions accused them of being linked to Chinese organized crime, and authorities said the proceeds were going toward funding Burma's civil war. Okay, so this 127,271 Bitcoin is the Bitcoin, it seems to me, that the Chinese are saying was hacked by the United States government. This is becoming very interesting. Now, here it is. We have a strike force. We've put together, by God Almighty, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, Darren, or who is it, Heron and Damen. We got ourselves a strike force. So it is specifically about pig butchering, which is all Southeast Asia. All right. So how are we going to fund the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve? Well, clearly we really want to be able to steal other people's Bitcoin, whether it was, claimed legally or not, and put it into our strategic reserve. So it makes me wonder, ladies and gentlemen, Damen and Heron, whether or not the United States government is having this strike force so that they can have a pretense to just steal Bitcoin from other people in other countries. Is it possible that they are actually stealing it from people who have, who deserve to have it stolen from? Like, I'm not a fan of pig butchering. I think this is a heinous crime. I don't think it should exist. Is that really what we're doing? I mean, I have to remain skeptical on everything, especially when this entire operation has already linked itself to the seizure of 127,000 Bitcoin, and China's calling foul, and yet all this pig butchering shit is going on in Southeast Asia, Asia Is it possible that all this pig butchering is actually being sanctioned by the Chinese government? What I'm saying is, are we in a proxy war about pig butchering? Is this pig butchering task force, red team, and the pig butchering companies, or whatever you want to call them, the entities that perform this, is that blue team, and blue team's owner is China, and red team's owner is the United States? I would not put it past anybody that this entire pig butchering thing is literally a scam orchestrated by the Chinese government to just take Americans' money. Fuck it, target them. That's what I would be doing. If I was Chinese, if I was in the Chinese government, I'd be like, how the hell can we really screw over Americans? Do we do it with tariffs? No, man. Let's take money from the citizenry directly. Let's just steal their shit. See what I'm saying? It's not a stretch. It is not a stretch. So anyway, I think we're in a proxy war. I think pig butchering is at the center of it, and I actually find it kind of delightful. Let's run the numbers. CNBC futures and commodities breaking. The White House has made a statement. The White House says the October jobs and inflation data may never be released. And now we come to it. Why would we have a government shutdown? It would probably be to, I don't know, have a pretense to hide really bad looking data that nobody, no matter what level of finagling, no matter what level of modulation, no matter what level of mudding and fudding could ever hide. I don't know. Possible. Like I said, again, it's not a stretch, dude. It's just not a stretch. Anyway, the energy markets are taking a bath. They're being bathed in blood. In fact, Brent North Sea is down 3.7%. Back down, get back down, bitch, to $62.74 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate faring worse, 4.16% to the downside, getting slapped back into its position at $58.50 a barrel. Natural gas not being the hedge today, although it is only down 1.5%, but still chilling out at $4.50 per thousand cubic feet. Gasoline is down 2.6% to $1.95 a gallon. Merbon crude is down almost 4 full points to 64.64. All of shiny metal rocks are having a good day. Palladium is up 2.5%. Gold is up 2.5% to $42.15 and 5 dimes. Platinum is up 2.5%. Silver, however, clocking them all, 5.5% upside to $53.58 per ounce. Copper is up 0.8. Ag fully mixed today. Biggest winner is sugar, 2.25 to the upside. Biggest loser is coffee, which fell on its ass by well over 6 full percentage points. Live cattle taking a dump. Let's hoof it on over to the livestock futures. 0.73% to the downside for live cattle. Lean hogs, even worse, 1.7% to the downside. That means what? More McRibs. Lots more McRibs coming your way. Feeder cattle also down, not quite so bad, 0.6% in the red. And let's see, indices. S&P is up 0.17, but the NASDAQ is moving sideways slightly in the red. Dow is up 0.8%, and the S&P Mini is up 0.5%. Looking at a price of Bitcoin at $101,440, that is a $2.02 trillion market cap. We can only purchase 24.1 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,947,682.41 of. And average fees per block are low, 0.02 BTC taken in fees on a per block basis. There's 22 blocks carrying 40,000 transactions waiting to clear at high and low priorities, both 1 Satoshi per VByte. Zettahash range again for hash rate 1.08 zettahashes per second is the current hash rate of the Bitcoin network. That is way more security than you will ever actually need. From McBitcoin, yesterday's episode of Bitcoin, and I got Oak Grove with 1,154 sats. He says, however, this is for the episode Rumble Strips, and regarding Square Terminals talking Bitcoin or taking Bitcoin, Fort Bitcoin has a meetup next week. Yes, that's right. Fort Bitcoin has a meetup next week on Wednesday. If anybody that listens is coming, I will buy you a drink. The restaurant/bar seems awesome. There will be a free raffle as well, and I think we are going to try out BitChat. And then he's got a few links for the meetup, which are really long links, so I'm not going to read them, but I will try to include those in the show notes. In fact, let me, if you will bear with me for just 1 second, I want to make sure that I get these links, and I've got them. And now I've got to put them where I normally put the show notes. We'll see. Where are we going here? I'll just put them over here. Yeah, okay. That'll work. All right. Moving on. Pies with 121 says, LFG, show our favorite Bitcoin podcast some love, y'all. Send Dave some sats, you cheap bastards. I appreciate that, son. God's Death with 237 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Pies with 121, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Is that it? Is that all I got? That's all I got. Man, you better, you guys need to heed the words of my friend Pies. Stop being cheap bastards. Man, you know, I'd spend time doing the show for you. Stop being cheap bastards. That's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. Coinbase is leaving Delaware. Not quite the same funkiness as saying leaving Las Vegas, but Coinbase is leaving Delaware for the Bitcoin-friendly state of, have you guessed it yet? Texas. Matt DeSalvo from decrypt.co. Coinbase, America's largest crypto exchange by trading volume, is leaving Delaware to reincorporate in Texas, citing a crypto-friendly environment and a strong culture of celebrating builders for the decision. Not to mention the absolutely fabulous barbecue everywhere. Anyway, the publicly traded company, which has a remote-first policy with its employees, had been legally based in Delaware, but said on Wednesday in a regulatory filing with the SEC that Texas was a better fit for them. In an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, Coinbase Chief Legal Officer Paul Grewal wrote that, quote, Texas offers efficiency and predictability in part thanks to recent corporate law reforms that enhance government flexibility and legal predictability. Delaware's legal framework once provided companies with consistency, but no more. Delaware's Chancellery Court, or it's either Chancellery, and this is a typo, or this is correct, Chancery Court in recent years has been rife with unpredictable outcomes. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong wrote in a Wednesday post on X, quote, Coinbase has always been about increasing economic freedom, and this factors into the state where we choose to incorporate. Texas has a strong culture of celebrating builders who are growing our economy, creating prosperity for all. And they've also embraced crypto, he added. American companies have long chosen to register themselves in Delaware because the state's court system, the Court of Chancery, I guess that wasn't a typo, is famous for settling corporate disputes. But top U.S. companies, including electric car maker Tesla and bank Charles Schwab, have in recent years relocated to the Lone Star State in search of lower taxes and business-friendly regulation. Quote, never incorporate your company in the state of Delaware, Tesla co-founder and CEO Elon Musk wrote in a January 2024 post on X. Ooh, wow. NASDAQ-listed Coinbase which allows customers to buy, sell, and bet on the future price of digital coins and tokens, went public in 2021. The company this year signed a deal with JPMorgan Chase, aiming to allow customers to buy crypto quicker and easier than before, and filed for a national trust company charter from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Coinbase shares were trading above $303 on Wednesday, down the better part of a percentage point, according to Yahoo Finance data. Coin itself, the stock, is off more than 14% over the past month. Yeah, dude, everything related to crypto is down over the past month. Everybody was very disappointed in October. I don't know, change your diapers. Wait it out. Meanwhile, while you're waiting on your diapers to dry, the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, has unveiled a plan for token taxonomy to redefine crypto regulation. Sarah Wynn brings this to us from theblock.co. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Paul Atkins is spearheading an effort to create a token taxonomy that looks to delineate between what cryptocurrencies would be securities as the agency forges ahead with a new approach to regulating digital assets. In prepared remarks on Wednesday at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia's FinTech conference, Atkins laid out his plans for that taxonomy, which he said will be rooted in the Howey test. This should be interesting. The Howey test is based on a 1946 United States Supreme Court case frequently cited by the SEC to determine if an asset qualifies as an investment contract and therefore a security. Quote, in the coming months, I anticipate that the Commission will consider establishing a token taxonomy that is anchored in the long-standing Howey investment contract securities analysis, recognizing that there are limiting principles to our laws and regulations, Atkins said. Cryptocurrencies can be part of an investment contract, but it doesn't mean they will stay that way forever, Atkins later added. Quote, networks mature, code is shipped, control disperses. The issuer's role diminishes or disappears. At some point, purchasers are no longer relying on the issuer's essential managerial efforts, and most tokens now trade without any reasonable expectation that a particular team is still at the helm, Atkins said. So under the Trump administration over the past year, the SEC has taken a starkly different approach to crypto than under the Biden administration. Under former SEC Chair Gary Gensler, the agency took a cautious approach to crypto and brought several cases against large crypto firms, saying that most cryptocurrencies were indeed securities, while being criticized for his regulation by enforcement approach. Since the SEC has dropped several investigations into crypto and has held crypto roundtables led by Commissioner Hester Pierce, with Atkins now at the helm, the agency has embarked on Project Crypto to update the SEC's rules around digital assets. Atkins also took a strong position on Wednesday on what parts of the digital asset industry would be in the SEC's purview. He reiterated the agency's stance that tokenized securities, such as stocks converted into tokens on a blockchain, would still be considered a security. Atkins asserted as well that the agency and other regulators will still be pursuing fraud. Oh, thank God. Quote, now let me be clear about what this framework is not. It is not a promise of lax enforcement at the SEC. Fraud is fraud. End quote. In the past, Atkins has also spoken about super apps that he said would allow for the trading and custody of several assets under one regulatory license. On Wednesday, Atkins said he directed staff to work on that. Quote, I have asked commission staff to prepare recommendations for the commission to consider that would allow tokens tied to an investment contract to trade on non-SEC regulated platforms, whether registered as a CFTC registered at the CFTC or through a state regulatory regime, Atkins said. Exemptions will also be on agencies' agenda. Well, of course, you got friends You got to make sure that you know what I mean. Quote, I hope that the commission will also allow a package of exemptions to create a tailored offering regime for crypto assets that are part of or subject to an investment contract. That means we're going to open up a window for our friends to get through, but everybody else can go fuck themselves. Ha! Meanwhile, lawmakers are forging ahead on legislation to regulate the crypto industry. There are multiple versions of a bill to regulate the sector at large. The House passed its own version over the summer, and the Senate now has two versions. The most recent one released from the Senate Agriculture Committee on Monday, which includes an array of unresolved issues. Pausing just to say, the reason agriculture has anything to do with this is because of the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. That's regulated by the Department of Agriculture because commodities, for the great guts and feathers of them, are stuff that is agriculture, like beef and frozen concentrated orange juice, shit like that. Pork bellies. And if you know what movie I'm referring to, you get 2 points. Anyway, with the SEC moving ahead in the absence of a bill, Atkins said the agency's work aims to complement lawmakers' efforts. Quote, what I envision aligns with legislation currently being considered by Congress and aims to complement, not replace, Congress's critical work. Commissioner Pierce and I have made it a priority to support congressional efforts, and we will continue to do so, Atkins said. I don't know, man. That last part sounds to me like he's like, don't look at what we're doing. You know what? We're with you. We're with you, Congress. We're not going to do anything outside what you guys want. Meanwhile, me and Hester, we're going to look at doing exactly what we want, and we don't give a shit about what anybody else says. But on to Neutron X. And yes, this will be a shorter show again. I've been trying to keep them a little shorter. This is on purpose. If you guys want a longer show and you really don't like the shorter shows, all you've got to do is send me a boostagram on any podcasting 2.0 related, podcast app. And I have no problems changing up, but I figured we'd try this, see if you guys like it better. You tell me. I try things nobody ever says, hey, I like this better, or dude, I really don't like that shit. If you guys don't ever tell me what you want, I can't give you what you want. So make some noise. Anyway, Neutron X FinFan. Yes, that's a word, FinFan. Partnership to power Lightning Network across Vietnam. I'm just going to go Vietnam because it rhymes with FinFan. Bitcoin News, written by Bitcoin News. Neutron, a global Bitcoin Lightning infrastructure company, and FinFan, a licensed Vietnamese cross-border payment service provider, have announced a strategic partnership to officially distribute Lightning Network infrastructure for institutions across the country of Vietnam. This collaboration will deliver instant, low-cost payments and settlement rails to banks, payment service providers, and fintech platforms, enabling them all to move value more efficiently and securely than legacy systems. The collaboration addresses rising demand for real-time cross-border payouts, merchant settlement, and digital income flows to Vietnam while offering trusted, compliance-ready integrations for partners navigating the evolving global financial landscape. Quote, this partnership marks a turning point, proof that the Lightning Network isn't just the future, it's becoming the new standard for real-time settlement, said Albert Bu, B-U-U, CEO of Neutron. Quote, by uniting FinFan's deep local presence and regulatory foundation with Neutron's global internet native rails, we're setting a new benchmark for how institutions and consumer platforms in Vietnam can move value instantly, compliantly, and without borders. By partnering, FinFan and Neutron combine local trust and local innovation. Our customers, enterprises, and consumers alike gain faster settlement, lower fees, and predictable compliant rails that connect Vietnam to global commerce. And both of those were said by the CEOs of both those companies. So what does it deliver, this partnership? Instant or near instant settlement. It offers lower operating costs because they're using the Lightning Network, There's compliance-ready integration and open finance connectivity, and you can define that however the hell you want. Sounds a lot like DeFi to me, but whatever. Together, Neutron and FinFan are building reliable, compliant Lightning rails to help Vietnam's financial ecosystem move value at the speed of internet, unlocking faster cash cycles for businesses and more transparent, affordable transfers for consumers. So Vietnam jumping full foot into the Lightning Network. Not blockchain, not Bitcoin. Well, it is Bitcoin because Lightning has to have Bitcoin in order to work. That's a prerequisite, but you get what I'm saying. They're not looking at Sol. They're not looking at Terra Luna, which is shit, well, dead anyway. But all the rest of the shit coins, they don't need any of it. Nobody needs any of these shit coins, Ether especially, right? You just use the Lightning Network. Vietnam figured it out. Why? I think we're just wasting our time with all the rest of this bullshit. Anyway, that is the last article for the day. It is Wednesday. It is hump day. I hope everybody enjoyed their day off yesterday, at least if you got one, because it was, Veterans Day and all that. Let's see if there was anything else that I needed to cover today. And I honestly, I don't think that there is. So I will hang it up. We'll see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.